WordPress is an incredibly powerful and useful platform, but one of the most frustrating things that can happen is when your emails do not come through. Now, whether these are emails to you or emails to your customers, one thing is for sure. If you are struggling with email problems, it can have a very negative impact on your business. So in this video, I'm going to show you how you can quickly and easily fix any issues with your emails not going through. So with that being said, let's dive into it. First thing we are going to do is going to log into our WordPress dashboard and download a plugin called WP SMTP. Now, the reason we are downloading this plugin is because by default, WordPress uses the mail function in order to send mail through your contact forms and stuff like that on WordPress. And unfortunately, because of the way that that's built, it's through PHP, a lot of mail servers like Gmail, like Yahoo, all of the big ones, if they see mail come in from something like that, something like the mail function, it doesn't have any security, it doesn't have any authentication, it doesn't have any information to show that it's not spam, to show that it's not spoofed, to show that it's actually a legitimate email. So this is where things like SPF records and DKIM records and DBARC records come into play, which I'm not going to get into in this video. But the reason why, one of the most common reasons why, if you're using something like Contact Form 7, plugin in order to create contact forms on your website, if those messages are not coming through, if those emails are not coming through to you, it's probably because they're being blocked by the email provider because none of that verification information is on there. So in order to stop WordPress, in order to stop Contact Form 7 from using that default mail function, we can install a plugin that can force it to use what's called SMTP, or Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. So I'm just going to go to my plugins. I'm going to look for WP SMTP. Again, that stands for Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. And we have this plugin right here by WP Forms. So it's called WP Mail SMTP. We're going to go ahead and install that. Once it's installed, just go ahead and click Activate. And now we have the plugin installed and activated. So over here on my left-hand side menu, I'm going to come to the settings, and there are going to be some things in here that we need to set up. So by default, yours, when you first install it, it will probably look something like this. It'll be set to the default PHP. And in this particular example, we are going to be using Google/Gmail to run our SMTP protocol through Google instead of running through the PHP. So you can use any of these, but most of these are paid, whereas there are ways to get the Google/Gmail API so that you can do this for free. Now, there is two different ways that you can go about this. You can either, if you're using G Suite, or it used to be G Suite, it's now Google Workspace, which is where, like, if you have your domains through Google Domains like I do, you can buy email addresses associated with your domains. So I do have a couple of those, and that's going to be the route that I do this. If you don't use Google Workspace or G Suite, I highly suggest checking it out. It's pretty cheap. It's, for one email, it's $6 a month. And it comes with a lot of functionality. And with what we're about to go through, what I'm about to show you, so instead of having to pay, it's $6 per month per email address if you were to buy it, through them. But what you can actually do is you can just buy one and then create a bunch of alias domains or a bunch of alias email addresses for all of your various domains that you have, or have multiple on the same domain. And that does not cost any extra money. So for $6 a month, you can essentially have as many email addresses as you want, as long as you either own the domain name or you just create a bunch of aliases using the same domain name. So this can be done also with Gmail. So if you have a free Gmail account, you can do it with Gmail as well. The way it's done is going to be slightly different eventually when we get down the road, but for the most part, it's all going to be the same. So now that we have this plugin installed, first thing that we're going to do is we're going to select the Google/Gmail, and then we are going to need to get information to put in here, this client ID and this client secret. And in order to do that, we need to create a Google API. We need to get our own copy of the Google API. So all of the instructions that I'm going to be following, you can also follow in here if you want to. If you just click this Get Started, read our Gmail documentation. If you want to go ahead and open that up, these are all of the steps that I'm going to be going through. I'm not going to follow this because I pretty much know how to do this already, but if you need to go back and verify anything or have any questions, need a little bit more detail, you can follow this. So first thing that we're going to do is we want to go to Google Cloud Console. So the link for that is going to be right here. So if you actually open up that document and click that, so I'm going to open that up in a new window. And you want to make sure that whatever email address you're trying to use for this process is the one that you sign into. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be making all of the emails that come through our website be sent by our Gmail account or be sent by our Google Workspace account using the Google API. So I'm going to go ahead and log in to the account that I'm going to use. And once you're logged in, if you've never been, come in here before, yours might look slightly different, but you're just going to come up to this top. And again, like I'm currently logged into my domain name, houseofapex.com. So if you just have the domain name, then that is what you'll be logged to do. Or if you're in Gmail, it should just say your Gmail account. Regardless of what it shows there, you can either come up here to the top and click New Project, or just right here, you can click Create Project. So I'm going to come up here and click Create New Project, and you can give this a name. So I'm just going to do ZK Example. Organization, if you have multiple domain names attached to this, which this account I do not, you would show those there. I'm just going to leave it on this House of Apex one. And same thing with the location. These are not super important. This really doesn't matter. So right now it is creating our project, so we're just going to have to wait a minute for it to finish. And once it finishes, we will move on to the next step. Okay, so there we go. We are done. Now we have this ZK example project that is what I just made, and you can see I'm in that right here up at the top. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to come over to APIs and services, and we're going to come to library. Now this is going to show us all of the different API services that we can make or that we can connect to. So I'm just going to search for Gmail, press enter, and here we have the Gmail API. So we're going to go ahead and click that, and we are going to click enable. Okay, so now that we have enabled it, we're going to come up to the top right here, and we're going to click this Create Credentials button. So go ahead and click that. For select an API, you want to make sure Gmail API is selected. If you don't see this here, then you may have accidentally not done the Gmail API for whatever reason. So just go back to the beginning and make sure you select Gmail API. We're going to want to select user data and click next. And then you're going to need to create an app name, an email address, and an email address again. So for app name, again, I'm just going to call this one ZK example SMTP. For support email, it should just have whatever email account you're attached to loaded in there. And then I would just put the same email address in this developer contact information. We're going to go ahead and click save and continue. When it comes to the scopes, we're not going to do anything with this, so you can just scroll down, skip that, and then come down here and click save and continue. And then for this OAuth client ID, we are going to click web application. You're going to have to give it a name again, so I'll just do ZK example SMTP web application. For this authorized JavaScripts, nothing to do with there. For this authorized redirect URI, you are going to want to click that, and we're going to come back to the WordPress dashboard in the SMTP app. And right here we have this, if you go into under the WP Mail SMTP settings, under general, we have right here this authorized redirect URI. We're going to head and copy that and come back here, and we're just going to paste that inside there. And we're going to go ahead and click create. So now we can go ahead on the bottom here and click done. You don't need to copy your credentials right now because we're actually going to do that in a minute. Just click done. Now that's been created. Now we need to make our project from internal to external. So we basically need to make it publicly accessible to ourselves. So over here on the left, we're going to go to this OAuth consent screen. And right here under user type, it's currently set to internal, and we want to click this make external. And then we want to select in production and confirm. And now that is done. So last thing we need to do is we just need to go to our credentials over here. And now we can see we have this one option under our OAuth client IDs, my ZK example web application that I made. That's the name that I made. Over here on the right-hand side, there's a little edit button. If you click that edit button, it's going to give you this client ID information, and it's going to give you this client secret code. These are the two things that you need. So you're going to go ahead and highlight the client ID and copy that and go back to your WordPress dashboard. That is what we're going to paste in here. And then we're going to go back over there. We're going to highlight the client secret, copy that, move back over to our WordPress dashboard and paste that into our client secret. Now, once we've done that, we're just going to scroll down and click Save Settings. So now that our settings have been saved, the last thing that we need to do, and if they were done properly, you should now see this authorization here that says allow plugin to send emails using your Google account. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. It's going to ask, which Google account. Again, you want to use that same one. Do you want to grant access to it? Yes, I do. We're going to allow that. And now it says you have successfully linked the current site with the Google API. So now you can start sending emails through your Gmail account. So now, if you'll notice, I have this from email, and it will show me all of the emails that I have attached to that account. So I actually currently, the way I have this set up right now, I already have one Alias account. So the main account I have is zach@houseofapex.com, and then I also have zyler@houseofapex.com. Both of those email addresses go to the same account, which is zach@houseofapex.com. The Zyler one is just an alias account, meaning it's just an alternate attached to the same account. And I did that in a separate area, which I'm going to go into a minute. So if you're doing this for the first time, you should just see the one option that you have. And if that's the email that you want to use, then that's perfectly fine. You are good to go. You can go ahead and come down again, click Save Changes or Save Settings. And now everything is done. So now what will happen is anytime somebody uses one of your contact forms, so if I go ahead and open up my contact forms on this website. So if I go into this contact form, currently, my mail settings, I have anybody who uses this contact form. Let's see, let me open it up. So anybody who uses this contact form, when they click submit, it submits it to this email address, and it is coming from this no reply at zylercade.com. Now, this is the settings for contact form 7, but what's going to happen is because contact form 7 uses, like I said, the default mail function, what's going to happen is instead of doing that, WP mail SMTP is actually going to overwrite that. So instead of the email coming from this email address, it is actually going to be from this email address or whatever email address I have set up here. Now, I do actually want it to come from this email here, so that's what I'm going to do next, because the way I had it set up this way, it was trying to send them before with this email address, but because it was going through the other function, the emails would drop. Gmail or whoever I was sending them to wouldn't allow them to come through because of the way it was coming through. So now that the mail is being sent through this function instead, through this protocol, now I have to add this alias. I have to create this alias email address so that I can make it an option in here so that this protocol can actually send it using that email address. But right now, it's going to force this email address as the sender. It'll force this name. That's just because I have that checked. And we are good to go.
Hey there, please excuse the quick interruption. I hope you're finding this video super helpful and packed full of value so far. If you are, you may be interested in my brand new course that I just launched. The Full-Time Freedom Codex is my self-paced online video course where I teach you my streamlined, organized, simple to follow step-by-step process for creating digital content quickly and easily. Then how to turn around and automate the distribution of that content to various platforms so that you can earn online passive income with committable time and effort. To learn more about the course, feel free to visit the website, thefreedomcodex.com, or by using the link in the description below. I hope to see you inside, and now back to the video. Live your best life.
Now, if you want to test it just to make sure everything's working, you can click this email test. And for example, I will send a test email to another email address of mine. Click send email. And so I do see a success right here. And then also, if I want to go ahead and actually go check that email address, let's see, go ahead and check that. So now we can see here, congrats, your test email was successful. So, and if we look at who the from is, right? The from email is from Zach@houseofapex.com because that is the email that is set up as the sender right here. So even if I were to, let me go to use my contact form, and I'll just do test. We'll say test Zach at apexhouse.io. This is a test. This is a test. Submit. So now when I get that email to my other Gmail account, which should be this one, we have right here, if we look at the from, it's still showing as Zach@houseofapex.com because, again, this plugin is forcing that to be the from email address, even though our contact form settings say technically this should be the from email address. So now, if you want to use whatever email you have in here already, then you're good to go. You're done. You should now, your emails should now be being sent correctly, and they should make it all the way through. Granted, you might have to wait a little bit for it to update. Sometimes it can take a few hours before the server will start letting them through. But if you would like to create another Alias account, whether it be with a G Suite account or Google Workspace account or Gmail, that is also relatively simple to do. So we can close the Google Cloud out. Now, I'm going to close that. I'm going to close that. So now if you wanted to create a Alias account, like I said, depending on whether you're using Google Workspace or if you're using Gmail, it's going to be slightly different. There's going to be a few things that you have to do differently. But you're going to log into your account, whether it be Workspace or Gmail. And up on the top right here, you're going to click this little gear icon and you're going to go to See All Settings. Now, you're going to click this little Accounts tab. And here you can see this is my default email right here. So Zach@houseofapex.com, that's the main primary email address. But then I also have this Zyler@houseofapex.com, which is just an alias address, meaning people can email this and I'll still get it in this inbox and I can reply and make it look like that. So if you're a single business owner, if you're a single business entity, but you want to have maybe an admin email, you want to have a support email, you want to have your personal email, you can go in here and create a bunch of alias emails all using the same domain, just a different just a different user. And all you do is click add here. You would put whatever name you want. So let's see, I was going to do Zylercade. And then I would do, Zylercade at houseofapex.com. Now, if you're going to use the same domain name that you're already on, then it's relatively straightforward. You would just click next step. It says before you can send this, we need you to verify you own this email address. They're going to send you a verification email. Now, in order to do this, you need to make sure that whatever alias you're creating is set up to forward emails to your main email address. Now, depending on how you have your email set up, if you have your domain on Google Domains like I do, so you would just come to your domain, you would come down to over to the email tab, and you would just go ahead and add email alias. So I would do Zylercade. It automatically is at houseofapex.com. And we are sending it to an existing email. So my existing email is zach@houseofapex.com. So what we're doing is now we're setting this up so that when somebody emails this Zylercade at houseofapex.com, it forwards to my main email address, right? Because this is the only actual inbox I have is this inbox. All of these other email addresses are just alias email addresses. So now this will allow that any email that comes to this email address will automatically be forwarded to this box. So now that we have done that, we can come here and click send verification. And what's going to happen is it's going to send the verification to that email address, but then that email address is going to forward it to my actual inbox. So we're going to go ahead and click send verification, minimize that for a minute. And if we come back to our inbox, I now have this here. You requested to add that, right? So here we've got this code, and put that code in here, click verify. And so now if I go back to my settings and we go to our accounts, now I have that account there. So now if I want to send from that account, I can click compose, and here I can do a drop down. So I can send from any of those email addresses, and it will look like it's coming from that email address, but really it's still just coming from this main box, okay? So that is how you can add additional aliases using the same domain name. Now, if we come back to the WP mail SMTP, right, if I just refresh this, we should now see that new email in there. So here, now I just added this Zylercade one. Now we can see that there. So I could force this to do, send from any of these email addresses I want to. Now, this website that I'm on so this email is houseofapex.com. But the website I'm currently on is not my Apex House website. I'm actually on my Zylercade.com website. So what if I want my email to be, me at Zylercade.com instead of at houseofapex.com? You can do that too. So you can also add an alias email address that is of a different domain name. However, there is a slightly different way to do it. So in order to do that, the first thing that you need to make sure, A, you need to own the domain name. Obviously, I feel like that's a given. But B, one of the first things you're going to need to do is you're going to need to go into your account settings of your email, your main email, and you're going to need to allow the outbound SMTP server settings to be changed. Now, I know that sounds like a lot, but promise it's not. So in order to do that, you're going to need to go to the admin page of your account. So if you come up here to the top right and see this little admin console button, so we're going to go ahead and click that. And this is going to bring us into the admin console of our domain name. So now that we're in here, we're going to come over to apps. We're going to go to Google Workspace, and we're going to go to Gmail. Now, once we're in Gmail, we are going to scroll down to End User Access. We're going to click the little drop-down button. And down here, allow per user outbound gateways. Now, I already have this turned on for me. I did this a little while ago because, so you're going to click this little edit button, and by default, it'll probably be unchecked. So you're going to want to check it, and then you're going to want to click save. Now, unfortunately, it says most changes take effect in a few minutes. That is not always true. Sometimes it can take like an hour. So I did this earlier. That way, when I got to the point of making this video, it would hopefully already be ready to go. So you want to make sure that that is on in order to allow you to make changes to your outbound SMTP server settings, which we're going to get into. So you want to make sure that is turned on. Once that is turned on, you've let it sit for a little while. We'll come back to here, this same area, and we're going to click add, again, another email address. So this time, I'm going to do Zylercade again. But instead of doing at houseofapex.com, I'm going to do at Zylercade.com. So Zyler at Zylercade.com. Next step. So now we need some SMTP server settings. Now we are going to be using the Google server settings, the Google SMTP server settings. And I don't remember what they are off the top of my head, so I'm just going to honestly go Google them. Google, Gmail, Alias, SMTP, outbound, server settings, something like that. Here we go. Good old SiteGround. I love SiteGround. This is what I use for hosting, so if you need hosting, SiteGround's the way to go. Just saying, link in the description. So we're going to go ahead and use SMTP right there, .gmail.com, and that is what we're going to use for the SMTP server. Our username is going to be whatever our main email address is. So for me, it's going to be zach@houseofapex.com, right? That's the actual account that I'm using. And then our port is going to be 465, 465. And our password, so this is the other kind of like weird part. You're not going to use your password for your actual account. You need to get an app password. In order to get an app password, you have to have two-factor authentication turned on, which on this account, I just realized I do not. So in order to do that, we're going to go to manage your account, go to security, and come down into two-step verification, and we're going to get started and turn that on, which honestly, you should have that turned on anyway, just because it's smart security, so I'm not mad about it. I'm actually glad that I'm doing this right now. Continue. Okay, so now that I have turned on my two-factor authentication, I am basically going to close this all out again, start over from scratch, just so that, again, you can see the process. So this is where we're going to get that password. So we're going to come back up here again to our account, manage your Google account. Now we should, when I search for app password, we should see it. That's why it wasn't showing up before, is because it wasn't an option, because my two-factor authentication was not turned on. So if you're searching for app passwords and you're not finding it, it's because your two-factor authentication is not turned on. So we're going to go ahead and click Other. I'm going to click ZK SMTP, generate. This gives me a password. I'm going to copy that password. And that is the password that I'm going to use here. And click Add Account. Now it has successfully added it. So we've successfully located your other server. Just one more step, an email with a confirmation code was sent to Zyler@zylerkate.com. To add your email, do one of the following. So same thing that I did before with the other email address that I made, I also have to do the same thing with this one, which I did not do yet. I have to forward this email address to the House of Apex address, the zach@houseofapex.com. So in order to do that, I'm going to go back into my domain name. So let me open that up. And I need to go to, and this time before I did it at House of Apex domain name, this one is going to be the Zyler domain name. So I'm going to go ahead and open that. I'm going to go to my email. I'm going to click and add an email alias, Zyler@zylerkate.com. And that is going to go to zach@houseofapex.com. I'm going to click add. And now Zyler@zylerkate.com is being forwarded to zach@houseofapex.com. So that is good. Now I'll probably do resend email because that wasn't set up before. So now that email should come through with the confirmation code. So let me go back, check that email address. Okay, so that email finally just came in. So gave me the confirmation code. So I'm going to go ahead and click copy that. And I'm going to go back up to my settings, go back to that accounts. Right now it's showing it's unverified. So I'm just going to click this verify, paste that code, verify. And now we can see I now have this new email alias, Zylercade, but instead of it being at houseofapex.com, it is now at zylercade.com instead. So that is the process that you can go through to add multiple domains or multiple email addresses to your single Gmail or single G Suite Google Workspace account so that you can send emails looking like it's coming from different places, but really it is coming from the same place. Now, again, if I come back to my WordPress dashboard, I'm just going to go ahead and refresh this page again. And I'm actually going to switch that email one more time so that all of my emails now come from this Zyler@zylercade.com. So now anytime somebody uses that contact form, or if I send emails from this website anywhere, gonna go down here and click save. It will now look like it's coming from this email address, Zyler@zylercade.com. And not only can I can do that here in my website as well, but I can also come to my Gmail account or my G Suite account again and click compose. And if I want to send an email from Zyler@zylercade.com, I can do that and send it to whoever it is that I want, and it will look like it's coming from that email address. And then the last thing that you can do, which I like to do on all of mine, if we go back up to all of our settings and click accounts, I believe by default it is set to this always reply from your default address, which my default address is that. But you can set it to reply from the same address the message was sent to. So if you give different email addresses to different people for different things, or you're running multiple websites, and all of those websites have their own support email address or their own contact email address or whatever it is, you can have people send emails to those addresses, and then whatever email they reply, when you click reply to them, it will automatically reply from the same email address that they emailed to.
Helpful, make sure to hit the like button and hit the subscribe button for more helpful content like this. If you have any issues, if you have any questions, or run into any problems, please feel free to put them in the comment section below. I will try to answer them as quickly and as thoroughly as I can. Make sure to check out the links in the description for more helpful information, including my free passive income ebook, as well as more information on the Full-Time Freedom Codex, where I teach you how to quickly and easily create, automate, and monetize digital content to earn passive income. And I will see you in the next video. Take care.